tumataginting po yung pangalan ninyo dito sa form na pinagmudmod sa buong bansa. Andito, we hereby authorize Attorney Anthony A. Abad et al. To cause the filing of the petition, perform all acts necessary in furtherance thereof. Are you the same Attorney Abad whose name appears on these signature sheets for the People's Initiative?
Yes, that's correct, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Senator Marcos, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Go, and of course Senator Risa Ontiveros. Before anything else, I would like to apologize for my absence in the last hearing, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify and speak this morning.
Yes, matagal kang inantay pero at least nag-email ka naman. Kaya marami po kaming katanungan para sa iyo. Unang-una, sabi ni Mr. Oñate nung nakaraan, na bahagi ka ng pirma. Are you part of the pirma organization? Neither does your name appear in the SEC documents or any other papers that we have retrieved with regard to pirma. Do you confirm that you are part of pirma?
Actually, Madam Chair, I am not a member of PIRMA, but I am assisting as an advisor the groups that are signing this petition.
So you're disputing Mr. Oñate's claim in January 30 that you are part of PIRMA?
I'm really not part of PIRMA, not organizationally or a member of it. My role is really as an advisor on constitutional reform if this petition ever prospers.
When did you become part of this operation, if not PIRMA?
Okay, my background, no, I am a professor of international economic law at Ateneo, recently retired from the practice of law, and I had been a long-time advocate of constitutional reform. So I have been promoting constitutional reform and advocating it since the period of President Fidel Ramos. That's why I had occasion to work with Carmen, with Tita Chit Pedrosa,
and the rest of the PIRMA incorporators.
Yes, but I've never joined them organically. But I have supported and I've always promoted constitutional reform.
Or perhaps is PIRMA your client? Are you engaged as a lawyer of PIRMA?
No, I'm not. I'm actually doing this on a voluntary basis. Madam Chair,
I'm just very curious, given your very nebulous and inchoate relation with PIRMA, why is it that yours is a single name that occurs in all these sheets?
Well, what happened, Madam Chair?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. What happened, Madam Chair, is, I've been a long-time resource person for both houses. Here in the Senate, even with as recent as Senator Padilla's hearings, I appeared as well to promote constitutional reform. In the House, I worked closely with Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Late last year, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez asked me and invited me to assist and to help PIRMA and anyone else who is joining this People's Initiative for constitutional reform as an advisor. But I was supposed to join.
Pero Attorney Abad, sa dinami-dami ng mga pangalan na binanggit mo, at napakarami naman nila, nandyan yung Ghana Law Office, nandyan si Attorney Abisado, nariyan si Noel Oñate, di ba? Nandyan po kayo. Bakit yung pangalan mo ang pinili nila?
Ma'am, I think this is
ikaw pa yung sinasabi mo, walang koneksyon. Hindi ka naman bahagi ng PIRMA. Ba't ka bida dito? Ikaw ang starring dito sa aming papel eh.
I've unexpectedly infamous for this, but Madam Chair, it's actually a curse of the alphabetical, my name being AAA. There are other petitioners.
Yes, could you name or mention some of the et al. That occur after your name? Sino-sino yung et al. That you say alphabetically succeed your AAA initials?
Well, alphabetically, you'd have former Congressman Argel Kabatbat of Magsasaka.
Mga kongresista yan. They're all congressmen?
Well, former congressman. There's, of course, former Congressman Garbin.
Okay.
Ed Gulye of CORE, Constitutional Reform Movement. This was
Okay.
recent organization or last 20,
Sila yung
early
et
20.
al.
Ito yung mga et al. And of course, Sir Noel Oñate and former Justice Veloso, Ching Veloso. I understand there will be more, but these are the names that I am familiar with.
Pero, as an accident of your name, you're saying you are the single name mentioned in full?
Yes, it happened that the signature form came out with only one name, which is mine, and just an et al.
Yes, it's just problematic to me because I actually have the transcript of Mr. Oñate's testimony during the last hearing, during which he said, si Anthony Abad ay kasama namin sa professional sector ng pirma. Ang pirma ay maraming components. Merong farmer, professional, etc. Si Anthony Abad ay isa sa mga volunteers sa aming professional sector. Tama po ba yun?
Perhaps Mr. Oñate can explain. I'm not organic or a full-time member of PIRMA, but I am assisting as a lawyer and as an economist.
So you know Attorney Garbin, a former congressman?
Yes.
And you're also familiar with Attorney Garbin's participation in PIRMA. Kasama kayo sa PIRMA.
Yes.
And together with other former congressmen and justices, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, ma'am.
So you share the advocacy of PIRMA in pushing for the joint voting by the House and the Senate in the event of a constituent assembly?
Yes, that's correct.
Joint voting and not separate voting?
No, because I look at constituent assembly as a single body.
Right. But you will note that your name is also attached, voting jointly at the call of the Senate President or the Speaker, hence in violation of the bicameral nature of our government. Is that something you abide by?
My opinion, Madam Chair, is that when the heads of the houses call for the Constituent Assembly and
it's an or, sir. We all went to law school, and the ands and ors were very important. It's an or. A single house can actually call for this con-ass.
Madam Chair.
I stand corrected, ma'am.
Yes, Senator
I apologize, Madam Chair, but just to check, I think Attorney Abad has not been placed under oath yet.
That's
Madam
correct.
Chair.
I've failed to ask the committee secretary to, yes. Can we please require them to take the oath? Yes, Attorney Abad, please take the oath. I forgot. Sorry, and that will be for everyone that we've called upon. Sorry.
To those who were not able to take an oath during the previous hearings, kindly stand. For the rest who have taken an oath, this is a continuing hearing, so your oath still stands. So those who are new to this hearing, kindly stand and raise your right hand. Kindly repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding. Thank you very much. You may sit down.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's proceed. I am still perplexed, Attorney Abad, because you have here very clearly your name in bold letters, indicating that you share the advocacy of a unicameral voting for the Constitutional Assembly. Was this something that you were aware of?
Yes, ma'am. It's well, from an academic point of view, I know that the 1987 Constitution does have certain vagueness, and we were looking at.
I think it's quite specific with regard to voting. There's no vagueness at all.
Well, we were looking at this People's Initiative as an opportunity to clarify this matter.
Okay, so that it was your stand that the Constitution should be changed into a unicameral body, a National Assembly, as originally debated long ago.
No, ma'am.
But this is This
but-
is the paper
No,
on which your name is affixed.
Yes, ma'am, but no, it's not about, it's the Constituent Assembly is unicameral. The Congress or the Parliament or the legislature can be bicameral or can
With
be
all due
unicameral.
respect, you put your name to an amendment that states 3/4 vote of all its members voting jointly, okay, and secondly, at the call of the Senate President or the Speaker. So on 2 counts, it's clearly unicameral. Is that your stand? I'm not going to fault you for it. I just want to make sure that we understand what we're talking about.
My stand, ma'am, is that the Constituent Assembly is unicameral, not the Congress. I'm not advocating a unicameral Congress or Assembly.
But in the case of a change of the Constitution, a single House can call for the vote. Surely you're invoking the establishment of a unicameral assembly.
Yes, it's the same people.
Hindi naman kailangan yung Senado dito, di ba, maliwanag? Gusto ko lang iklaro kung ano talaga yung pakay ninyo rito kasi nalilito po kami. Kasi ngayon sinasabi mo, pang-con-as lang yan. Eh sa ligang batas yan, babaguhin mo. Yung ordinaryong batas, papalitan nga lang yung pangalan ng kalsada. Eh talagang BICAM kami ng BICAM. Eh para dito, para sa konstitusyon, kanya-kanyang kabig, okay na.
Madam Chair, what is of paramount importance to me is the constitutional reform. I can see and I understand now. I can see how divisive and how
Are you saying you
counterproductive.
allow them to put your name on this without full knowledge of what you were signing?
No, ma'am. I understood.
You understood?
Yes.
And you understood that, in fact, this was a way to evade, avoid, disenfranchise, abolish, in fact, the Senate.
No, ma'am. In fact, personally, I don't think that the Senate should be abolished. I think there should be an upper house.
Eh, ba't mo pinirman to? Nagtataka
No.
lang ako kasi yung mga abogadong kulit-kulit. Di ba ang turo natin sa law school, talaga isa-isahin mo yan. Eh, nagtataka nga ngayon, kaya pala ng speaker, mag-isa. Magtatawag siya ng con-as.
With all due respect, ma'am.
Wala namang alam yung senador, wala rin yung Senate President. Pwede niyang patakbuhin. Tama po ba yun? Parang nalilito ako sa iyo eh.
No, ma'am. The Congress is bicameral. The Constituent Assembly, which gathers as a constitutional amendment body, is unicameral. It has a different legal
So you're saying that a
identity.
mere law to change a little road somewhere far away requires constant debate and discussion and finally consensus between the 2 houses, but a major change in the Constitution can be called by a single house. Wala, nalilito lang ako kasi ikaw ang nakapangalan dito eh, kaya kailangan panindigan mo.
But that's correct, Madam Chair. But you see, it's
What's correct po? Na
That-
pwedeng paltan yung saligang batas, kanya-kanyang kabig na kung gusto ng mga congressman, kung gusto ng senator, o di paltan nila kahit kailan.
no, it's the constitutional, of course, a constitutional assembly, a constituent assembly, as acting as a constitutional amendment body, of course, has to be subject to scrutiny, and eventually it will require plebiscite or referendum, depending on what comes out of this constituent assembly. It is just that currently.
With all due respect, since you're a constitutional advocate, parang dapat i-clarify natin. In any case, let's put that aside. It's obvious that this form attached your name without full information on your part on the implications of this proposition. Would that be an accurate statement?
My work should have come in only when the petition, if the petition prospered. I was supposed to be an advisor.
So hindi ninyo alam yung nakasulat dito?
Oh, no. I knew, ma'am. I knew what I
You
was.
knew?
Yes.
Yes, but right now you don't know. Sabi mo, hindi ka sigurado kung ganun talaga.
No.
Kasi gusto mo na ngayon BICAM. Eh,
No.
nakasaad dito, unicameral voting, unicameral call for a con-as. Let's please make up our minds.
Ma'am, a constituent assembly, although they are the same people who are in the Congress, is actually a different legal body for the purpose
No,
of...
we fully understand that. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this form because it is your name that appears here. And I assume that you abide by all the statements that are contained in this sheet.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, kalarin natin for the record. Yung, alam namin yan, we fully understand na a constituent assembly is a separate body. We will be wearing another hat pag mag-form tayo ng constituent assembly. Pero yung point ng chairman is that klaruhin mo yung stand mo about voting jointly or separately. Yan lang gusto namin. From your end, yung ba talagang gusto mo na voting jointly, na kaming 24 at silang 316, isang count lang ng boto namin?
That's correct, sir.
That's correct. So that's your, yan ang gusto mo. Kaya ikaw ang nag-spearhead dito na ma-amend ditong section 1 ng Article 17 by People's Initiative. So ganun ang gusto mo talaga. This for the record.
For the record, I wouldn't say...
I think just to help things along, there were statements from Pirma, I'm not certain if it was Mr. Oñate, that alleged similarly that since the Senate was a constant roadblock to constitutional change, they wanted to have the two houses vote jointly para malusaw nga yung boto ng Senado. Tama po ba yun? Yun ba yung tamang idea sa likuran nitong papel na to? Okay lang, kasi wala lang sa amin. Total, puro proposal naman to eh.
Well, it's not to dilute the Senate's role. It's just that to clarify how you vote within a constituent assembly. That's my understanding.
But it's not merely...
I-clarify mo to, i-amend mo na kagad ang konstitusyon. Yung palang clarification na gusto mo.
Oh, because it lacks clarity. We need to clarify.
No,
That's
but
why
I think it's very clear also at the call of only one of the House leaders, there's nothing that says that it has to be bicameral. Okay din sa iyo yon na only one House. Yung Congress, kanya-kanyang palit. Congress will change the Constitution on its own. The Senate as well. Is that what you had in mind?
Could you repeat that, ma'am?
Well, ang liwanag dito, at the call of the Senate President
Yes.
or at the call of the Speaker of the House. So, kanya-kanyang tawag, kanya-kanyang palit ng saligang batas. Bahala na kung anong lumabas. Okay lang pag hindi nagkatugma-tugma yung dalawa.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm not familiar with the work in how Congress works, but I would imagine that it would require still some consensus.
You have your name here. And you're not clear on what the language was?
No, ma'am. It's clear.
Just said it's unclear how Congress works.
No, I'm just saying that I would imagine that when you call, whether you're Senate President or the House Speaker, it would still require a building of consensus within these houses. Well, I don't know if...
We can go to that later. I
Yes.
think you've certainly not answered all the questions. You've definitely raised my level of confusion. In any case, let's go back to Pirma and revert to that. Do you know Attorney Garbin? Sabi mo kasali siya dun sa mga et al na sana lumabas din kasama mo.
Yes.
Okay, so you're part of Project PI. That's correct. Because you were helping them. You said you were in an advisory role.
Yes, that's correct.
So you also know Attorney Red Tuason?
No, I don't know Attorney Red Tuason.
I see. But Mr. Oñate said that he was the prime organizer.
Yes, I'm not. I have now no involvement in the signature campaign, ma'am. So I don't know the people who are in the operations part.
You have no involvement, but you are the single name on the signature sheet.
That's correct, ma'am. As I explained, because of the alphabetical order of the petitioners, my name was put at the top of the list.
Mr. Oñate already admitted that he sought the help of Speaker Romualdez, whom he described as the CEO of the Congress. I think that is correct. Did you also meet with Speaker Romualdez?
I met him also.
Yes, was it to do with Project PI?
I just accompanied Mr. Oñate and Kong Rufus, and well, he just thanked me for participating.
Could you tell us when this occurred?
In December.
Attorney Jokno has reminded us that the People's Initiative should derive from the people. Did it not occur to you or to the rest that this had become a politician's initiative and not one that derived from the masses, the people, the citizenry?
No, my understanding, because I had been introduced to Mr. Oñate and the other petitioners, that they would be representing people's organizations nationwide. That's my understanding.
Okay, did you coordinate with Saldico, another congressman, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee?
No, ma'am.
He usually accompanies the speaker?
No, I haven't. I have not had.
Did you coordinate with any other congressman?
No, ma'am.
Because Mr. Oñate has repeatedly admitted to coordinating with congressmen, given that PIRMA did not have the wherewithal, certainly not the organizational scope and reach that the congressman had. Did you coordinate with the other congressmen?
No, I did not, ma'am, Madam Chair.
Do you know the group called Change Philippines that Senator Bato and myself called upon in Davao?
Change Philippines? No, ma'am. I'm not familiar.
So the signature collection by Change Philippines and other groups was not authorized by you. Clearly, you didn't authorize them. You didn't even know them.
Only PIRMA. Only those who appeared as the petitioners. No? At the ground level, I was not able to meet with these other organizations.
If you didn't know them, why were they authorized to collect signatures on your behalf to file a PI petition?
Again, ma'am, I agreed to be a petitioner. My name came out alphabetically in the list of petitioners, and that's why it ended up on the signature sheet.
You're a law professor. You know very well that in order for any authorization to be valid, there must be agreement between the person giving the authorization and the person being vested with authority, correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
That being the case, how did you provide authorization for all these groups, such as Change Philippines, that you've never met, have not been informed about, and certainly did not authorize to use your name?
I just agreed to be part of that list, and that was my agreement to be part as a petitioner. And again, I ended up being the top of the list.
Your name appears in all those PI sheets, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Do you know who drafted the signature sheets?
Congressman Garbin.
With your full
And of course
authority, is that correct?
And the PIRMA group.
We're so unclear now about PIRMA. Perhaps you can give us a personal name? Sino po nag-draft nito? Kasi kayo ang nakalantad dyan eh.
If I may answer, Madam Chair, I remember saying during the last hearing that when I discussed the People's Initiative with a group of Attorney Garbin, he coordinated with Attorney Abad and proceeded on their own. So it was Attorney Garbin, but we had to make sure that what was contained in the signature sheets would be consistent and the same with the signature sheets of PIRMA.
You're saying it's not PIRMA, and you're speaking as counsel or lead convener?
I'm not lead convener, Your Honor. I'm counsel for PIRMA.
You're
Thank you.
counsel for PIRMA. So this was drafted by Attorney Garbin, who was here in the last hearing, and Attorney Abad is in full agreement with what was stated, even if you don't seem entirely clear about the bicameral or unicameral voting procedure. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Madam Chair.
Who printed them?
Pirma.
Madam Chair, as to the printing and the operations, that would be answered by Attorney Red Tuazon. We just made sure in some instances we gave them a soft copy. And as to the printing, we don't know
I
anymore.
think your dates are not tallying, with all due respect, Attorney Abisado. Naglabasan ito, maaga pa, New Year. Eh, hindi naman niya kilala si Attorney Red Tuazon, di ba? Sabi ni Mr. Oñate, nakilala lang daw niya 2 weeks ago. Eh, 2 weeks ago, ang tagal-tagal nang umiikot nitong mga papel na to. Kailan ba kayo nagka-introducean?
That is correct, Madam Chair, because Attorney Red Tuazon is part of the group of Attorney Garbin. Sila ho yung nagko-coordinate sa grupo ho nila.
Madam Chair, medyo nalilito na ako. So, lumalabas 2 grupo?
Parang maraming grupo, hindi sila magkakakilala. Kanya-kanyang
Actually po,
gawa.
like we said, Senator Binay, during the previous hearings, wala hong monopoly ang pirma on People's Initiative. Marami
sige.
din pong grupo ang gumalaw and we will not stop them. Tinignan lang ho namin
Hindi, pero
sila.
ganito
yung
na lang,
tanong,
at least.
di ba? Pare-pareho,
Oh,
regardless of the group.
That's
Tama
right.
po.
I would like the clarification. O sabihin na natin na marami kayo at kalat-kalat all over the Philippines. Ang tanong, sino nag-imprenta niyan? Ilan ang inimprenta? Saan inimprenta? Magkano ang pagka-imprenta? Sino nagbayad ng pag-imprenta? O yung gano'n na lang kaklaro. Siguro naman may kaliwanagan dyan.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Bato.
going back to the last statement of Attorney Anthony Abad, sabi niya, ang paprinta daw si Congressman Garbin. Di ba? Am I correct? Sinabi mo?
Hindi, siya
Hindi,
yung
siya
nag-draft.
nag-draft.
Ha?
Siya nag-draft.
Siya daw nag-draft.
Siya nag-drop.
Sino nag-imprenta?
Madam Chair, as to the operations, it will be answered hopefully by the appearance of Attorney Red Tuazon during the next hearing. All questions for sure we are confident will be answered. Thank you.
Despite the fact that he was only hired 2 weeks ago, he has full knowledge of all the operations of PIRMA and the PI project.
You
Is
are
that correct?
you must be referring to the meeting of Attorney Tuazon
No, I'm
and
not
Mr.
referring
Oñate.
to anything. It's Mr. Oñate who's actually said that he only met him 2 weeks ago. Pero
Yeah.
alam niya ang lahat.
Yes, but
Eh,
maaga na
na-imprenta
po
to
sila.
noon pa eh.
Yes, Your Honor. Maaga na po silang gumalaw ni na Attorney Garbin.
Ako, Senator Bina, naliwanagan ka ba o mas nalito?
Wait, so parang lumalabas si Attorney Tuazon, si Attorney Garbin, and si Attorney Abad is part of one group. Kailan ho kayo nag-umpisang mag-usap, kayong tatlo? Ni Attorney Abad, Attorney Tuazon, and Attorney Garbin.
I met them in December, ma'am, Senator Binay. But with regard to nga the operations or administrative matters, I did not involve myself because
But were you part of the crafting of the...
yes, I had to review also and take a look at the draft.
And saan ho galing yung draft? Yung draft question for the PI.
Saan?
Sino ho nag-craft nung draft?
Si Attorney Garbin.
Okay. Madam Chair, did we invite Attorney Garbin for this hearing? Si Attorney Garbin, because apparently parang...
Yes, Attorney Garbin was invited. He actually attended the first hearing.
Because parang lumalabas siya pala yung nag-craft nitong tanong.
Well, he drafted it. Siya rin ba nagpa-imprenta? Kasi ang sabi niya noon, talagang tumulong lang siya at saka nag-distribute. Wala siyang sinasabi kung sino nag-imprenta. Di daw niya alam. Pagkaalam ko, wala siyang sinasabi doon kasi hindi niya alam. Sino nakakaalam sa pag-imprenta nito? Nalilito ako.
Attorney Red Tuazon, the operations po. I'm for sure when he appears, he will answer all the questions. Kasama ho sila sa grupo ni na Attorney Garbin po.
So, kailan ho kayo... Mr. Oñate, kailan niyo ho nakilala si Congressman Garbin?
Your Honor, I mentioned during the last hearing when Mr. Oñate engaged our firm to proceed with this project of a People's Initiative. I mentioned this also at that time with Attorney Garbin, who also happens to be our client.
Wait, so,
and he told us,
sandali nga, kailan nga ho yung, ang tinatanong
that was
ko ho?
December po, December.
So, kumbaga parang December lang kayo nagsama-sama.
Yes, and they worked fast. Sila po yung nauna. In fact, the signature sheets of Attorney Abad, sila po yung nauna, humabol lang din po yung signature sheets ng pirma.
Tama po ba yun, Attorney Abad? Nauna yung grupo nyo, tapos sumunod lang si pirma?
No, they were already involved.
Kasasabi lang niya eh.
Mag-usap-usap na kayong tatlo,
Pwede ba
apat dyan?
magkasundo muna kayo sa
Mag-usap muna kayo
dates?
para...
Kasi linilito na ninyo kami eh.
Yung signature sheets, nauna ako, yung pangalan ko.
Siguro, balikan lang ho natin yung unang pagtatagpo nyo. Di ba?
Pang Valentine's Day.
Pang Valentine's Day, kasi parang meron kayong love affair dalawa. Kailan ho kayong unang nagkakilala?
Sa November.
So, November pa. So, hindi December.
Hindi December. December, I met the speaker. And we also met separately.
Bakit si speaker na bigla? Akala ko hindi siya kasali. Po, bakit si speaker na?
Nahuli ka sa sarili mong bibig, ha?
Attorney Abad, November, nagkakilala kayo ni Attorney Garbin.
And Mr. Oñate.
Okay, so
And?
nung meeting nyo noong November,
And
sino-sino yung mga players? Sino yung mga na-meet nyo? Si Attorney Garbin, si Mr. Oñate,
Itong si Argel Kabatbat.
Argel Kabatbat,
Yun yung farmers group. Diba?
Yes, farmer. Magsasaka.
Yung magsasaka.
and
Ex-Kong din.
And Ed Gulye of CORE.
CORE,
Constitutional Reform Movement.
Yep.
ilang hong apat.
It's the
Teka.
initial group.
Tapos, nung December, bakit kasama na si speaker maliban sa apat?
If I had met the speaker,
Apa.
we did have a meeting because they went to see him,
Oo.
and it was like sort of a courtesy call. And then after that we went and met about this signature campaign.
Kasi dati sinabi ni Mr. Oñate, hindi naman kasali si speakers. Tsaka na lang, nung nagpapasaklolo na sila, kasi mahirap nga umikot at papirmahan yung mga form.
It's the time that they went to...
Kasama
in December.
kayo.
Yes.
Nung nagtagpo kayo, nandun na yung mga papel?
Hindi pa. Not yet. I didn't see them.
Ay, wala pa nung December.
Oo, wala.
So wala talaga lahat tayong alam, bigla na lang sumulpot yung mga papel. Yung mga form, ganun ba yun? Nandun yung pangalan mo, hindi mo in-approve yung draft?
In-approve ko yung draft, but I didn't see the printing of the...
And Madam Chair, wala ba kayong security measures na ginawa dun sa pinapipirmahan nyo na alam nyo, para malaman nyo na talagang galing sa inyo yung forms na pinapaikot dun sa baba? Wala ko kayong ganong ginawang hakbang?
Parang security, yung parang sa... like with money.
Na parang may authentication na form 001, 002, tapos may signature yun na, I mean, to say na parang authentic talaga yung bibigay nyo sa COMELEC. Kasi pwede ako magpa-photocopy ngayon neto, di ba? At mag-submit sa COMELEC. And paano nyo madedenay? Paano madedenay ng grupo nyo na, ay, yung papel na yan, hindi sa amin yan? Or yung pinapaikot na may sinasabing ayuda or ganyan. Hindi yun yung official na forms ng grupo nyo.
Teka.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Bato, please.
kung basihan natin yung mga timeline, no? I am slowly getting the impression na parang lumalabas na hindi itong pirma ang pumunta sa House leadership para magpatulong sa PI. Parang lumalabas, it's the other way around. Yung House leadership ay nagpapatulong dito sa pirma para mapapatakbo itong PI. Parang ganun lumalabas dahil hindi pa nga kayo organize 2 weeks ago. Hindi pa kumplito yung inyong organization. So, forgive me if I'm wrong. Pero that's my impression developing in my mind. Para bang it's the other way around. Hindi ang perma ang pumunta doon sa House leadership para magpatulong, kundi the other way around. Kasi, para bang nauna ang prepared na lahat, printado lahat itong mga papel. Kayo, hindi pa kayo naka-organize sa mga tao. Tapos, pang! Yun na. Perma na. Kuha na kagad ang perma. Tapos, saka kayo come into the picture. My impression only, Madam Chair. Based on their statements. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Siguro, Madam Chair, sinong common friend na nag-introduce sa inyo?
Si Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
I see.
Which is an incumbent congressman.
That's correct.
He's the chair of the Committee on
Of the constitutional amendments, that's correct.
So ano instruction niya? Meet up with Mr. Onate to talk about People's Initiative?
He asked me, he said that they needed somebody who has been studying or conducting research on constitutional reform, like comparison with other constitutional structures in other countries, and how to make the Philippines globally competitive. So it's basically my ongoing thesis or dissertation. And he said that there's a group I'd like you to help.
Kailan yun?
This was in November.
November. Ito yung November meeting with Attorney Garbin.
Yes,
I see.
and the petitioners. So the expectation of me was to be a resource person and technical advisor when the whole question of constitutional amendments and constitutional reform comes up. Then I would provide studies on the best design for constitutions that would make us more globally competitive.
So ang topic then was not about People's Initiative. It was not about the question dito sa form na to. Ay, parang
my interest,
yung participation was not about this, right?
Yeah, Madam Senator, it's just that is my advocacy, and I would like to see it pushed in a most inclusive way. In other words, I'm realizing that this PI might be problematic the way it's unfolding, but still I would strongly push for constitutional reform, and best if it were a multi-sectoral, multi-partisan, and multi-regional approach, a consultative effort of the country towards a new constitution, or at least just to adjust the constitution so that we could become more globally competitive, to eradicate poverty, and to have more citizen participation.
Kaya nga, if I may,
Yes,
Senator Nancy, kaya nga, kung kayo ang nasa likuran nito, prangkahin ko lang kayo, wrong move lang kayo dito sa ginawa ninyong quiz, itong ginawa ninyong voting. Kinapon nyo kagad kami. Hindi, gusto pala ninyo na multi-regional, multi-sectoral, yung palang gusto mo. Napakaganda ng gusto mo. Pero yung pamamaraan ay mali. Isipin mo na humampas kagad kayo sa isang malaking roadblock ang Senado dahil from the very start, kinapunan ninyo kami. Tinanggalan nyo kami ng boses. Isipin mo, voting jointly, how can we voice out the 24 of us against 316 of them? So mali yung start ninyo, kaya kayo nagka-problema. Pero kung inayos ninyo yan, ako mismo, I will support. Nagsasabi na ako, noon pa, nag-file nga ako ng economic chacha reform sa noon pa, resolution. You might be getting the support of the Senate kung hindi ninyo kaagad, from the very start pa lang, iba ng intensyon ninyo kinakapunan nyo kaagad kami. Kaya kami nag-react ng gusto. At nabulabog tuloy yung PI ninyo. Di ba?
Personally, Madam Chair, on my behalf, and Senator De La Rosa, I apologize the way things have turned out. But my bottom line is really, I just want constitutional reform to happen. And if it can be...
In any which way?
Well, in fact, it would be great if the Senate, as the sort of the wise men and women of the nation, are the ones taking the lead in really doing a comprehensive review of the Constitution. That would be great.
Yes, but we should allow for the people to debate and discuss and be made fully aware of the difference between unicameral and bicameral. I'm not here to defend the Senate, even if I do so, but certainly such a large change cannot be sneaked through this way. Anyway, I would just
Madam
like,
Chair.
yes.
Hindi naman kami talaga mga wise. Mas wise kayo. Dahil nga, kinakapunan nyo kaagad kami from the very start, mas wiser kayo kaysa amin. Mas wise kayo. Thank you.
Eto, pipilitin ko lang, si Mr. Oñate ang laging nagbabayad sa lahat. Baka may alam naman kayo sa printing. Baka kayo na naman ang nag-abono ng printing. At saka napakarami nito, milyon-milyon ang ginastos. Massive resources were required, 1,500 to 4,000 for the collectors of the signatures. May alam po ba kayo sa printing? Or saan nanggaling yung mga form na sangkatutak?
I had no hand in the printing of the signature forms, Madam Chair.
I see. Okay, so we will have to await with bated breath Attorney Red Tuason in that case. Attorney Abad, to go back to you, were you at least aware that the signature sheets with your name and only your name were printed and distributed nationwide?
Yes, I was aware, Madam Chair.
So that, in fact, seeing how divisive and problematic this PI has become, do you withdraw your name from the form, or would you like to, if given the opportunity at this juncture?
No, Madam Chair. I will stick with this. I will stick with the petition. However, I would.
And you uphold, you still are determined to defend its legality and constitutionality?
Well, as far as it can go. But like I said, if the Senate, the House, and the people, different organizations can come together on a consultative basis to review the Constitution, I'll be happy to shift and to work in that capacity.
Certainly,
Madam
you know
Chair?
it's called the People's Initiative. It really shouldn't be coming from the House or the Senate, for that matter. Sorry. Yes, Senator Ronald Bato.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you are going to withdraw your name despite the fact na posibleng mangyari na yung mga tao na binigyan ng card na magkiklaim ng 3,000, sabihin ng mga nag-re-recruit sa kanila, nagpapirma na wala na kami dyan. Punta na lang kayo kay Atty. Abad kasi siya man nandiyan pangalan, no? Doon mo singilin kay Atty. Abad yung 3,000 na pinapromise namin na yung card ninyo. Hanapin nyo si Atty. Abad. So you're willing to face those people?
Well, my understanding is that there is no, it should not be linked to this,